Hey everybody, my name is Amy Blackburn. I'm the program manager for the Family Caregiver Support Program, Love to Care at St. Barnabas Senior Services, which is sponsored by the City of Los Angeles Department of Aging. I just want to give a brief summary of our services. We provide assessments and care plans with our caregiver clients, and everybody is assigned a case manager who acts as a consultant and a guide throughout their caregiver journey. And then needs and goals are assessed, and any outside referrals that are needed are provided. And that assigned case manager also keeps in touch with the caregiver clients through check-in calls, emails. We have transitioned our direct services, such as caregiver support groups and caregiver education and training, to Zoom online. And other services that we provide consist of respite, which is a brief break for the family caregiver. And that's when we pay for an in-home care company to come in and give the caregiver a break. So that's a summary, and now I'd like to introduce David. He's a client in our Family Caregiver Support Program, and would you just like to go ahead and give us a brief summary of your caregiver situation and who you're caring for?
Sure. So my name is David Lopez. My father is the one that is currently permanently disabled, and he requires 24-hour care. He has been like this for about 11 years now, and it wasn't until possibly 3 months ago that I was referred to the agency, to St. Barnabas, and I was ultimately assigned to my case manager, Michelle, and who, we've been happy with the services that, St. Barnabas has been able to connect us with.
All right, great, thank you. So I'm just going to go through and ask you a few questions about your experiences with the Family Caregiver Support Program. And I'd like to thank you for providing this video testimonial. I think it'll help kind of inspire other caregivers, hopefully, to seek services and help if they need it. So what are the parts of the Family Caregiver Support Program that have been the most helpful to you and or your family?
Okay. Well, the telephone check-ins and, whenever I'm not available, the follow-ups via email, that's what I do appreciate the most, because I am currently also working remotely from home, and I may not always be available to take the calls, but I do follow up with the emails that my case manager sends out to me. Just knowing that, she wants to make sure that information is received from my end, and making sure that I'm made aware of any updates or any new potential referrals that we may qualify for.
Okay. And you mentioned Michelle and how she's been helpful. Is that the main thing, is her calling and following up with emails?
The other thing is, she actually does listen to see what it is that I would possibly need. Sometimes I may not be entirely aware of like the type of, there may be an already existing agency that provides certain services that I may not even be aware that we could potentially qualify for, or that's something that we should consider going ahead and getting a relief for.
Okay, good. So what needs for yourself and or your father being addressed by the Family Caregiver Support Program?
Okay. So I'm being provided caregiver relief right now with respite hours through referral agencies. So they do send a relief aid worker to come a couple hours a week to do some light cleaning around the house. This is especially helpful because my mom is the one that's the primary caregiver, and her arthritis is getting worse to the point where like some basic things are a lot more difficult for her to do. So, it's very much appreciated that when we get the respite aid worker to come along and be able to assist with those tougher household assignments. My father's needs are basically being met by what I identify with my case manager, that I think we would be requiring some type of assistance. So I talk it over with her, and then she helps me identify whether or not there's a corresponding agency that would be able to provide the services that I'm requesting.
Okay, good. Have you attended any of the caregiver support groups?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and what have you found is the value of that?
So the value of the online support groups, the highest value I think it has, at least for me, would be the emotional support, and just everyone on that meeting, on that call, like they are going through something that is very relevant, or something that I'm very familiar with, and it makes it more valuable in that point, because a lot of people would provide sympathy, or they'll have pity for us, but I mean, like, to actually have an understanding of what it means to be a caregiver, the highs and the lows, and the undetermined time period that you're going to be providing that type of assistance support for your disabled family member. That's something that I truly value with those meetings. Yes, it would be that.
That's great. Okay. And then what about the online caregiver education and training sessions? Have you attended any of those?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And what have you found to be the benefit of those?
So although I've been a caregiver for many years, there are still a lot of topics that I may not be fully aware of. And that would be basically the main benefit of those trainings. Just because you're living the experience doesn't necessarily mean that maybe as a caregiver, and throughout your interactions with other agencies, maybe there were other case managers, social workers that possibly stepped in to assist, but maybe they didn't delve into like your family situation or your own situation to figure out like how much assistance or what type of assistance you need. So comparing that to my current experience with St. Barnabas, the online sessions, they provide information that is, very understandable and relatable to like my current living experience.
Okay. So specifically, do you feel like you have learned anything about yourself, about caregiving, your family, et cetera, since you joined the Family Caregiver Support Program?
Yes, I learned basically that I do have to find the time to essentially replenish the energy that I've already exhausted as a caregiver or as an assistant to the primary caregiver in my household. But I also learned that doing that is easy. Like saying I have to find that time for self-care and for replenishing, it's easy and it's understandable, but actually doing the work to do it, that's where it becomes difficult. And sometimes that's where, the assistance of a caregiver, not a caregiver, a case manager, that would be the additional support. So it is easier to do when you have support from, others that can relate to your experience and that value your overall physical and mental health. And also, despite the hardships that caregiving, brings, it's also important to, make the effort and the time to schedule, your own personal time for self-care. Because no one ever knows how long you'll be in this role. And, you just want to be able to be in your best mindset and your best physical condition to be able to provide services for your family member.
Yeah, I appreciate that thoughtful answer. That's one thing that I like to emphasize with our case managers in our program to help family caregivers with is, taking care of themselves too, not only for their own health and wellness, but also to be able to continue that quality care and continue it safely. And it sounds like even though your mom might be the primary caregiver, there could be situations where you kind of have to help take care of her too, especially as if her arthritis gets worse and things like that. So it's good that you're there for them. Next question, was there anything that surprised you or that you didn't expect from this program?
Well, I knew that hours for relief, for respite, they vary sometimes depending on the organization. And I also knew that, despite, say, Barnabas connecting us to the agency that we're working with is, I believe it's in-home supportive care. I forgot what the name is that provides the respite worker. It's still at least what I feel like other caregivers would feel. It's it may still be low, the hours given in total, and depending on the agency or where they're from, the pay rate may not be as high as what it should be, because it is a very essential work. It is a very tough job too. Not all patients will be easy or will be willing to do certain things that are required for their daily living, and it just also helped me see that there is a strong need for more advocacy for caregivers, their contribution, not only to their household, but to society, and, also that need to boost hours and wages, maybe have this conversation on a national scale.
Yep, good point. Next question. What would you tell other family caregivers about the Family Caregiver Support Program?
So, so far my experience has been really great with St. Barnabas. They're reachable, communication wise, there's always, if they can't get a hold of me via phone call, there's usually a follow-up via email. And if ever I have any questions, or if there's ever any confusion about anything that's being brought up, especially my case manager, she'll be able to clarify any of those questions that I have.
Okay.
I would recommend them to, if they have to try any sort of caregiver support, for them to definitely try St. Barnabas.
Okay, good. And do you have any advice, because you're a fairly younger caregiver, right? Do you have any advice for younger family members as far as being prepared who could end up needing to provide care and help their loved ones at home?
Yeah, so caregiving is gonna show up at your doorstep unexpectedly. There is not usually going to be a plan in place. Your entire life may have to kind of reshift and be reoriented based on whatever the ongoing health condition needs and caregiving needs that your family member may have. So, and the other thing is maybe the way they may portray it in media is that it's just sweet, where it's like, you know, you're just making them food or just like, you know, tucking them in bed. It's not always going to be like that.
Right.
It's going to be challenging, and it's going to be pushing you to your limits when it comes to patients understanding and having tolerance for that person. But there are moments where it's like, it is worth everything that you're putting into that work. And that also realizing that, you know, maybe you may have the mentality that as your parents or family members, they get sicker or older, you're going to take care of them. There's also the possibility that maybe, you know, it may not be within your family's capabilities to go ahead and continue providing, you know, just continued daily caregiving for that person. So the conversations need to have in regards to like whether or not there is a need to possibly talk about putting your family member into a residential home, having that open dialogue, just because it's good to have that open dialogue regularly, because you know, situations change, you know, it will fluctuate, like their health will fluctuate. Like maybe for 1 week they'll be fine, fairly more independent, and next week they'll be very bedbound, and you know, it's a lot of physical and mental burden on you. I would also say, just to despite all that's going to be going on, it would be also be advisable for that caregiver to find enough time for their personal needs and their own self-care. I know that's always advised by, you know, hospital staff and, you know, case managers, but it is very important to make that side time for you, just because you do need to replenish, and you do need to, you know, fill up your reserves again with tolerance and, you know, patience, and being able to understand the situation that you're in. And also, I guess, at least in my personal experience, it would be a matter of pride, and just the being able to deal with, like, you know, maybe you were a very independent person, you didn't need like to reach out to many people to be able to, you know, get things done for yourself. But as things get difficult, put your pride away, put it to the side, and be able and willing to ask for help, reach out to different agencies to see what they can provide, and just understand that your caregiving journey, you have no idea how long that's going to be, and you know, how rough it's going to get. So the more support you can get, and the sooner you can get it, the better.
Yeah, that's some great insight, David. You probably didn't expect to be a caregiver for 11 years, right?
No.
And I'm sure it's been quite a journey for you. And even though it has been that long and you have learned a lot in that process, with something like this, with this program, you're finding benefit in it. You know, there's still things that you can learn and you can get help with. So I think that's a good point that you make. And it's also important as far as what you pointed out, just monitoring your self-care, and having somebody there to, you know, kind of be the person that it's almost like you report to, and when they ask, so are you taking care of yourself? Yes.
Yeah.
You know, because normally you don't do that every day with people. So that was the last question. Do you have any final thoughts or things that you want to say?
Just, you know, before I got referred to you guys, I hadn't heard about St. Barnabas, but I'm glad that I was referred, and I'm happy so far with the services that, you know, you guys have provided. I'm happy with my case manager, and I know there's probably more people out there that need services, and you know, if there's any way for St. Barnabas's name to be able to shine brighter or be able to get more funding for the services they provide, it's going to be completely worth it. Because so far, you know, everything that I've gotten from St. Barnabas has been, you know, quality assistance and understanding for my situation and my household situation.
All right. Thank you so much, David. Let's see. I just want to let you know that we are going to try to spread this video testimonial of our program. So we're going to be posting it on our website, YouTube channel, social media. So I'm hoping, and the rest of us in the program are hoping that by sharing this and people watching it, they can kind of get a different message about caregiver support services and the importance of it and how it is beneficial. And I especially hope that we're able to reach younger caregivers, because there are a lot more caregivers these days in their 20s and 30s who end up having to take care of their parents or grandparents or other people in their families. So the younger family caregivers that I've talked to, a lot of times they kind of want quick answers, almost like an instruction manual. Okay, how do I handle this? But it doesn't work like that, really. And that's kind of the benefit of having a case manager who acts as your consultant and guide throughout your caregiver journey, because it really is tailored to individual needs as they come up. And when somebody's there for those times when issues do come up, or questions or concerns, or just needing extra support, it's good to know that somebody's always there. So I like that you were able to point that out. You gave some great insight today, so thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording.